Hi there, it's Jody Lawyer, Holistic Occupational Therapist at Helix Healing Path. And for today's mini lesson, I thought we would focus on how to give yourself more self-care. So we know that we cannot pour from an empty cup, right? And we have to be able to do things to fill ourselves and recharge our batteries. And I went over that in the previous lesson on Are You Feeling Depleted? And this is not being selfish. The actual definition of selfish is this excessive or exclusivity with oneself, meaning that we're always putting ourselves first and never thinking about other people or giving regard to other people. And that is not what true self-care is. Self-care is giving back to yourself and honoring yourself first so that you can be filled up enough so that you can help to be of service to other people. And so there's lots of different ways that you can do that. So the one thing too is to be mindful of how we are always changing and evolving, because as we grow, as we learn new things or get a new perspective or we heal certain parts of ourselves, that means then we are always shifting in terms of who we resonate with and activities and jobs and environments that maybe no longer align with where we are. So we're always having to assess things in terms of what you maybe need to shed or get rid of. And so you want to really take notice of if something doesn't make you feel centered and grounded or is really off, then you may need to let that go. And so that could be a person, a toxic relationship, it might be an old habit, it might be a home that you're in, a work environment, just whatever is not giving to you and making you feel like you are filled up, because you want to do things that align with your purpose and where you are going in life. And if that means you have to let go of certain things, then that is what needs to happen. But I also know that it is really challenging because we sometimes feel guilty if we say goodbye to a certain person because of maybe just the relationship or how that's involved. And so learning how to honor yourself and put yourself first is challenging to do that. So I'm just going to go over some things that you can do to help you be mindful of if you are giving to yourself and giving yourself enough self-care. So one of them is making sure that you are getting enough rest and REM sleep. And I went over that in the last lesson of Are You Feeling Depleted? So I'm not going to go over that extensively, but you want to make sure you're getting enough rest and naps and whatever that means to recharge your batteries. So making sure you're doing that, drinking your water, getting some kind of movement or exercise every day. And it doesn't have to be a full-on workout, but just moving your body, going for walks around the clock in your workspace. That will be helpful for you. And then also when you do increase that exercise, it also helps with your vagal tone. So even deep breathing will help you with that. Eating your good food and also taking a good probiotic and taking care of that gut health, because although serotonin is manufactured in the brainstem, your gut actually helps you with manufacturing that serotonin. So you really want to be mindful of your gut health, as well as they say that the gut is your second brain. So that's what helps you with that tummy and the intuition. So making sure you're paying attention to that as well. Cooking at home and really engaging in mindful eating is another one, because we're so in a hurry all the time and we're racing out the door. So when you take time to prepare a good meal and don't rush through your eating, that's another way that you can increase your self-care and just really be mindful of the vitamins and the nourishment that you are putting into your body. Getting outside and increasing the vitamin D, because we, especially if you live in the northern hemisphere where I'm at, I take lots of vitamin D as supplements, and it also helps with boosting your mood as well. So making sure you're getting your vitamin D, because that will help, and getting out in the sun will help you recharge your batteries and give you more self-care. Practice good hygiene, whether that's showering, getting up and showing up for yourself every day, and putting on a favorite outfit can also enhance the way that you look at yourself and your self-care. Now, I will say that when someone is really depressed, I know that it's not all rainbows and unicorns, and so it is really challenging to think of yourself as like, I don't even want to get out of bed. And I know how tricky that is, and I've been there myself years ago, and where you just cannot find the energy to get up. But I promise, if you take one small step to do something, and then every day take one small step and keep on adding to that, you will be able to pull yourself out of that. And you might have to do some other things too. I'm not saying that it's just one type of thing. You might, sometimes people need meds, sometimes people need other things. But if you make those small promises to yourself and do one small thing to help you move out, and that might be just washing your hair and putting on a favorite shirt and listening to a favorite song, and that might be it for you, for if you're trying to move yourself out of that depression. But so back to just doing something that you enjoy every day is another thing. So that could be listening to music, making sure that you're doing that. And I have lots of things that I love. So I feel like I do a multitude of things that I really love, which is I love music. So I listen to music every day. And I love to be outside. So I try to get outside every day. And so making sure that you're figuring out what that is for yourself. And you really want to treat your body, like a temple, because our soul and our spirit is housed in the body. It's not the opposite. So you need to really think about what engages you and what feeds your soul and what is in alignment with that. And so treat your body like it's this amazing work of art, because it is. You are physical body, you're emotional, you're spiritual, and you are mental body. All four of those come into play when we are showing up in this world. So making sure that you are treating yourself the way that you deserve to be treated. And if you are not, this is where some of that healing, and I'm not going to go into all that, but that's where healing really takes into account of healing all of these ways that you may have viewed yourself in a negative way. Because if you've had messages given to you of you're worthless, you're not going to amount to anything, or whatever that might be, you may have some additional work that you have to do, so that way then your mind is aligned with that emotional state, because they too have to sync up in order for you to really be able to move forward. One of the other things that I love to do when I am indulging a little bit, and it's a very simple thing, but I love to take Epsom salt baths. And when I was going through a lot of my healing, I would take them pretty regularly, a few times a week. But now I just take them maybe like once a month. And I use Epsom salts, and I pour some essential oils in the bath, and I have my water, and I hang out in the bathtub for 20 to 30 minutes and listen to relaxing music. And it's just a really great way for me to recharge myself. And it does release a lot of toxins. So I've taken Epsom salt baths, and I also take some apple cider vinegar baths, which are really beneficial too. So that might be an easy way for you to just carve out that time and really make sure that you're giving back to yourself. Because I know when you've got small kids, it's really challenging to find that time for yourself. And so however that can look, maybe it's just 10 minutes, but something for you, and that you can recharge your batteries. Again, you want to learn how to say no to things that don't resonate with you. Cut out that people pleasing. Maintaining healthy boundaries with people is another one, and that's a tricky one, especially if you've grown up or you're not sure where your boundaries are, and that takes time. And when you start to learn to feel more assertive and establish boundaries, it can feel like someone is pushing back against you, and they are, because maybe before you weren't establishing those boundaries and now you are. And so sometimes people don't know how to react when you do that. But learning how to establish healthy boundaries will really help you feel like you're not giving all your power away, and that you are putting yourself first. And if someone does not agree with your boundary, or they get really offended if you say no to them, then that is about them, and they might be triggered by something that you're doing, but it's really about them. You need to stay in your own lane and do your own thing. That's my favorite thing, is getting up every day and saying, I'm going to stay in my own lane and do my thing. And part of this, learning the self-care, is then connecting with yourself. And that means that emotional body, that mental body, and figuring out what is going on inside and becoming really introspective. Because with that comes greater empathy for yourself and others, compassion, And also lending way for vulnerability and being vulnerable with yourself and maybe admitting things. Maybe first you just admit it to yourself about some things that have happened in your life, and whatever that is that bringing up feelings of shame or guilt or anger, whatever that is, but just being really honest with yourself and maybe just writing it out. If you don't want to like fully journal, but just maybe write it out or talk it out in a voice recorder, that can also help you put a positive spin on how you're feeling and being able to gain greater clarity and access to that inner sanctuary that you are holding all of this stuff. And so when you do that, it allows you then to be more vulnerable with other people and show up with people in a way that you are giving of yourself. You're able to offer up some of that, of those pieces of yourself, because that's where healing and holding space for other people is such a validating experience. And so you want to make sure that you are doing that for yourself though too, and knowing that and forgiving yourself for past mistakes and however that needs to be for you. And I've gone over this many times, but engaging in your creative outlets, flow is a big thing, because when we engage in these creative outlets, we're not thinking, we're turning off the mental brain. And we're just getting into that space of where your intuition can flow. And it can be very spiritual too when you're engaging in these kinds of practices. And you know, whatever you love to do as a kid is many times a clue of what you would feed your soul today as an adult. And for me, I love to write and I love to rhyme when I was a child. And I was always trying to make my sister laugh when we were growing up. And so I love to write. And so I took that and I wrote my first children's book. And I have another one that's written, and I just have to get it illustrated by my illustrator. But that is what I love to do. And I am, you know, you find that you can do this and this. So I can have my practice and I can do my writing and I have room over here to do this other thing. And you don't it doesn't have to be black or white. It can be gray, and you can have all of the things that you want to do that make you who you are and your authentic self. So making sure you figure out what that is for you, and those creative outlets will really fill you up. And take self-care trips, whether that's an actual physical trip to another state or country with yourself or a friend. But sometimes if it's just going out to a new place that you've never been to, a new restaurant, or I like sometimes I'll see a new boutique or a shop. I'm like, I'm going to make myself a promise to go to that shop and check it out. And I'm always pleasantly surprised when I do that. Or a museum, or just engaging in some cultural activities or theater or a dance recital or whatever that might be, or a concert. Make sure you're doing those things for yourself, because if that's what fills you up, then do more of that. And there are lots of free events out there. There's lots of, you know, concerts in the parks that are free, and to be able to just engage in that and connect with community and your inner spirit as well. Carving out time for your spiritual practice too is also a way to give yourself self-care, whether that's going to church, going to Bible study, if you're another faith, whatever that is for you, meditation, yoga, journaling, devotions, whatever that is. But carving out that time for you will also help replenish your spirit, and that is another self-care activity. So those are just a few things that you can do to replenish your spirit and taking care of yourself. And again, this is not selfish. It's self-fish. So the self is you, and you need to make sure that you are engaging in things that fuel yourself. So that's it for our mini lesson today. I hope this was helpful. If you want to reach out to me, I'm at jody@helixhealingpath.com or www.helixhealingpath.com. Thanks for watching, and have a very great day, and have a selfish day.